His character hates my character because I'm with his wife. I don't know if I helped Daniel make up his mind. We talked about that period of...
Pierce Brosnan is known all over the world as one of the most charming and graceful actors to ever play James Bond. On screen, he was calm, confident, and unshakable. Off-screen, he carried that same gentleman's image, polite, humble, and well-loved by his co-stars. But behind that calm and collected face, there was another side to him that few people ever saw. Brosnan had experienced deep disappointments, shocking betrayals, and emotional scars that lasted for years. Over time, 5 names became a painful reminder of the moments when he felt hurt, forgotten, and even betrayed. These people were not all enemies. Some were close friends, others colleagues, and even family. Yet each of them left a mark that shaped the man behind the legend. For decades, Brosnan stayed quiet, never speaking badly about anyone. But insiders close to him revealed that these 5 names carried heavy emotional weight. What made it worse was that many of these experiences happened at a time when he was already struggling with personal losses and professional setbacks. To understand Pierce Brosnan's story is to see beyond the glitz of Hollywood. It is a look into the life of a man who faced more heartbreak than anyone could imagine, and who handled it all with quiet dignity. For nearly 10 years, Pierce Brosnan was the face of the James Bond franchise. He brought the series back to life with movies like GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, and Die Another Day. Fans loved his version of Bond, a perfect mix of class, action, and charm. But everything changed with one short phone call. Without warning, Brosnan was told he would no longer play James Bond. There was no meeting, no appreciation, not even a chance to say goodbye to a role that had defined his career. Soon after, Daniel Craig was announced as the new Bond. Brosnan received no personal message, no conversation, nothing. Although he did not blame Craig personally, the situation left him deeply hurt. Watching someone else step into a role you gave everything to felt like losing a piece of yourself. Brosnan once described it as watching someone else raise your child. The way it ended, cold, quiet, and sudden, was what truly broke his heart. Craig went on to play Bond successfully for 15 years. But Brosnan never returned to any Bond events, photos, or reunions. The industry moved on, yet Brosnan felt erased from the legacy he had helped rebuild. To him, Craig represented not hate, but the painful reminder of being replaced without respect. If losing James Bond hurt Pierce Brosnan as an actor, losing his son Christopher broke him as a father. Christopher was the son of Brosnan's late wife, actress Cassandra Harris, whom Brosnan adopted and raised as his own. When Cassandra died of cancer, Christopher struggled deeply with her loss. Over time, he drifted into unhealthy habits, substance abuse, depression, and isolation. Brosnan tried everything to help his son, supporting him emotionally and financially. But nothing seemed to work. Christopher, once seen beside his father at red carpet events, slowly disappeared from public life. Brosnan rarely spoke about it, but close friends said he often expressed guilt, saying, "I hate what the world did to him. I hate that I couldn't save him." His pain was not about anger, but about helplessness, the unbearable feeling of watching someone you love destroy themselves. The deaths of his wife Cassandra and later his daughter Charlotte from the same disease left his family shattered. Brosnan continued working, keeping a brave face in public, but privately he carried the deep sadness of a father who felt powerless. Among all the people who hurt him, Christopher's story was the most personal, a heartbreak that time never healed. Before Brosnan ever became James Bond, he came heartbreakingly close to it, and the role went to his friend, Timothy Dalton. In the late 1980s, Brosnan was chosen as the next Bond after Roger Moore retired. The producers, the media, and even Ian Fleming's widow believed Brosnan was the perfect choice. But fate had other plans. He was still under contract for a TV show called Remington Steele, and the network refused to release him. Just like that, the dream was gone, and Timothy Dalton took the role. Dalton did nothing wrong. He accepted an opportunity, did 2 films, and moved on. But the situation created a quiet tension between the 2 men. Brosnan never publicly criticized Dalton, but their friendship was never the same. It wasn't jealousy, it was disappointment. Brosnan once said that missing Bond the first time was like watching your future pass by. When he finally got the role years later, the old wound still lingered. It reminded him of how fragile dreams can be in Hollywood, where timing often matters more than talent. Losing out to a friend made the pain worse. It wasn't betrayal, but it was another reminder that sometimes in life, you can be perfect for something and still lose it. Throughout his career, Pierce Brosnan earned a reputation as one of the most professional and respectful actors in the business. He treated everyone on set, from directors to camera crew, with kindness. But during the filming of Mamma Mia, here we go again, he faced an experience that tested his patience. One of his female co-stars, described by crew members as a diva, reportedly caused chaos on set. She made unreasonable demands, changed scenes at the last minute, and treated the staff poorly. Brosnan, who valued teamwork and respect, was deeply disturbed by this behavior. He never confronted her publicly, but people on set could see his frustration. He even considered walking off the project at one point. However, he stayed and finished the film with professionalism. When the movie ended, Brosnan quietly withdrew, skipping several promotional events and refusing to speak about his experience. Insiders said this was his way of saying, "I don't forgive, but I won't fight." The experience reminded him of everything he disliked about Hollywood: ego, entitlement, and disrespect. For a man who valued harmony, this was one of the few times he truly hated being on set. Though he never named her, everyone who worked there knew exactly why he chose silence over confrontation. The most shocking part of Brosnan's story came not from a friend or co-star, but from a stranger, a studio executive he had never met. After completing Die Another Day, Brosnan was preparing for his fifth Bond film. He was fit, enthusiastic, and even sending script ideas to producers. Then came the 47-second phone call that ended everything. "You were a great James Bond," the voice said. "Thank you very much. Goodbye." That was it. No reason, no respect, just a decision made behind closed doors. The studio wanted a new direction, a cheaper and younger Bond. For Brosnan, it wasn't about losing the role. It was about being treated like he didn't matter. He had helped revive a dying franchise and made billions for the studio, only to be dismissed with a phone call. After that, his entire team, assistants, publicists, stylists, lost their jobs. Projects he was planning were canceled, and his value in Hollywood dropped instantly. Brosnan never named the executive publicly, but he once said, "There should have been more grace, more class." The emotional wound was deeper than any career setback. He didn't just lose a role. He lost the respect of an industry he had given his heart to. When you look at Pierce Brosnan's story as a whole, you see more than a Hollywood star. You see a man who endured betrayal, heartbreak, and loss with quiet strength. Daniel Craig represented replacement, Christopher represented helpless love, Timothy Dalton represented missed dreams, the diva co-star represented disillusionment, and the executive represented betrayal from the system itself. These five figures formed the emotional map of Brosnan's life. Not because he hated them, but because each of them left a scar. Yet despite everything, Brosnan remained graceful. He continued acting, painting, and spending time with his family. He never turned bitter, and he never publicly attacked anyone. Instead, he learned to let silence speak louder than anger. His journey shows that even the strongest men can feel broken inside. But dignity, patience, and kindness can turn pain into strength. Behind the perfect tuxedo and smooth voice of James Bond was a man who knew what loss truly meant. His story reminds us that fame doesn't protect you from pain, and success doesn't erase heartbreak. Pierce Brosnan may have faced betrayal and disappointment, but he also showed the world what true class looks like when everything else falls apart. Today, Pierce Brosnan remains one of the most respected names in Hollywood. He continues to act, often in roles that allow him to show emotion, wisdom, and humor. Fans still remember his time as Bond with admiration, but many now see him as more than just 007. He is a survivor of personal tragedy, professional betrayal, and emotional loss. While those five names, Daniel Craig, Christopher Brosnan, Timothy Dalton, the unnamed diva, and the mysterious executive, represent different kinds of pain, they also shaped him into the strong, wise, and humble man he is today. Brosnan has said in interviews that life is about moving forward, not holding grudges. He has found peace in art, love, and family. He continues to honor the memories of his late wife and daughter, and he quietly supports causes related to cancer awareness and environmental protection. His story is not one of hate, but of healing. It reminds us that even when people hurt us deeply, we can choose. Pierce Brosnan has always been known as the calm, charming, and classy man who brought elegance back to the role of James Bond. On screen, he seemed to have everything: fame, family, and fortune. But behind that smooth smile was a heart that carried years of pain, betrayal, and disappointment. Brosnan was never one to speak about his anger openly, but those close to him say that there were 5 names he could never forget. 5 people who hurt him so deeply that he quietly carried that pain for years. They weren't all enemies. Some were once family, friends, or colleagues, but each name represented a part of his life that broke something inside him. This is not the story of revenge or hatred. It's a story of a man who faced heartbreak behind Hollywood lights and learned that even fame can't protect you from being hurt by those you trust most. When Brosnan was chosen as James Bond in GoldenEye in 1995, fans instantly fell in love with his style and confidence. He became the face of a new Bond era, a perfect balance between sophistication and action. For almost a decade, he was James Bond to millions. But after Die Another Day in 2002, the studio suddenly decided to move in a new direction. Brosnan had been promised another Bond film, but without warning, the producers ended his contract. Then came Daniel Craig, younger, edgier, and physically tougher. Brosnan wasn't angry at Craig personally, but he felt betrayed by how the transition happened. No call, no warning, just headlines announcing a new 007. For an actor who gave everything to that role, it felt like a stab in the back. In interviews, Brosnan admitted the shock. "They didn't even tell me. I was just erased." Though he wished Craig success, the wound stayed. For years, every new Bond movie reminded him that Hollywood loyalty can vanish overnight. Perhaps the most painful name on Brosnan's list wasn't a co-star or rival, but his own adopted son, Christopher. Pierce had adopted him after marrying his late wife, Cassandra Harris. He loved him as his own and tried to guide him through life. But Christopher fell into a dark world of drugs and bad choices. Brosnan tried everything: rehab, support, and fatherly love. But Christopher kept slipping away. Eventually, Pierce had to make a heartbreaking choice: to cut him off completely. "You have to save yourself," he told him. It wasn't hate that separated them, it was despair. Brosnan once said that watching someone you love destroy themselves is the hardest pain a father can feel. Losing Cassandra to cancer years earlier had already broken him, and now watching her son fall to addiction reopened that wound. For Pierce, Christopher symbolized the pain of not being able to save the people you love most, and that feeling haunted him more deeply than any Hollywood betrayal. Before Pierce Brosnan became Bond, the role was held by Timothy Dalton. When Brosnan was first offered the role in the 1980s, a contract with the TV show Remington Steele forced him to step back, and Dalton got the job instead. For years, Brosnan quietly resented that missed opportunity. When Dalton's movies received mixed reviews, Pierce believed his chance would come again. But by then, it was too late for that moment of glory he had dreamed of. Later, when Brosnan finally became Bond, some critics compared him to Dalton harshly, saying he was too soft or too Hollywood. That constant comparison weighed on him. Brosnan didn't hate Dalton personally, but he disliked how the industry used their careers to pit them against each other. It created tension. Even though both men respected each other privately, behind the polite smiles was the quiet pain of being overshadowed, of waiting years for a role that slipped away once before. Brosnan often said that timing in life is everything, and his struggle with the Bond legacy proved exactly that. Hollywood is full of egos, and Brosnan had seen plenty during his long career. But one co-star, whose name he never revealed publicly, reportedly pushed him to his limit. On the set of a big movie, the actress constantly disrespected the crew, arrived late, and criticized everyone, including Pierce. Despite his professionalism, Brosnan once lost his temper after she insulted a cameraman. He later admitted that working with someone so arrogant made him question the glamour of Hollywood. "You realize some people care only about fame, not about art or respect," he said. For a man who prided himself on humility, the experience left a sour taste. It reminded him how toxic stardom could be, and how kindness was often mistaken for weakness in that world. Although Brosnan never named her, insiders believe she represented every entitled actor he ever worked with, the kind who made set life miserable. To him, she was the symbol of how fame can turn good people into strangers. When Brosnan lost the James Bond role, many believed it was simply